So the season feels like it's pretty much over. Not mathematically speaking. Obviously, there is still a chance, and on any given Sunday, anything can happen. But I think I speak for all Falcons fans when I say this. It's time to start looking for the future. After the recent news to the Michael Penix Jr. injury, and after knowing that Drake London is going to be out against the Saints, the coaching staff being what it is, the organizational decay from the very top down, I think we all can agree that it's time to start thinking about the future of the franchise beyond 2025. Welcome in, Falcons fans, to Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and on today's episode, I've got something that I like to call the Moose Plan. I'm going to break down how I would fix the Falcons for 2026. You don't have to listen to it. I'm just some schmuck on YouTube. But I do believe that watching my full, 20-something plus years now of watching football, that there is a way the Falcons can get better. It's going to sting, though. You might have to get rid of some players, some that are fan favorites. But if you want to see the full rebuild, if you love the daily content, and you want me to make early off-season content, do me a favor, subscribe for the most up-to-date Falcons coverage. First things first, I want to say I'm sorry. I want to say that this season has definitely been a gut punch. I understand that. But I've enjoyed every second of hanging out with you guys every Sunday, every day. I enjoy even the negative comments down in the comments section. I love this channel. I love you guys, and I love this Falcons team. I really, really want to see where this team can go in the future because there are some really talented pieces. With that being said, all the mushy-gushy is out of the way. Let's get into the Moose Plan. First things first, fire the coaching staff. I don't think this needs to be spent a lot of time on this one specific part of the plan, but it is the first thing that I would do. If I took over Terry Fontenot's job today, if I became Moose Fontenot, or Trace Fontenot, if you want to be more technically specific, I would fire the coaching staff immediately. It has been malpractice this season. We have seen the just rot of this football team. The morale is at an all-time low. We cannot string together wins. It's clearly an indictment on the rest of the league. They are laughing at you, Raheem. They laugh at Zac Robinson. It's a gimmicky college-style offense. It does not make any sort of adjustments, and Raheem tells us the same bogus stuff every single week. Got to find a way to win. That's not good enough anymore. So who are some coaches that I would hire? Just 4 straight off the bat. Mike McCarthy, Brian Flores, Clint Kubiak, and a new contender, Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. Now, currently the coordinator for the Denver Broncos, and he knows what to do with the pass rush. I'm just saying, 112 sacks in the last 2 seasons. Now, there is a history where Vance Joseph has been a head coach. In fact, he was the head coach of the Denver Broncos back in 2017, 2018. He went 11-21 as the Broncos head coach. Now, you might look at that and go, whoa, that's terrible. Yeah, but he also had Drew Lock as his quarterback. So it's not really that great. He had no help at the quarterback position whatsoever. So I think Vance Joseph is one hell of a coordinator, and I think he's going to be getting a lot of head coaching opportunities. And the one thing that he definitely loves is a good pass rush. Well, what's the one area of the Falcons right now that continues to succeed? The pass rush. So, before I continue on with the rest of the plan, let me know who you want as the next Falcons head coach. As of right now, I'd probably take more of a leader of men. I'd probably take a guy like Brian Flores or maybe Mike McCarthy. But I would be okay with Clint Kubiak. I'd be okay with LaFleur if he gets fired, and I'd be okay with Vance Joseph. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. Second part of the Moose plan, release Kirk Cousins, clear up the cap space. I'm so tired of hearing that the Kirk Cousins is the answer. He's 37 years old, going on 47 years old. He can't move in the pocket. It just doesn't look nearly as good as it should. He's the most expensive backup in the league, and right now, he's not even playing like a top 5 backup. He isn't. There's also that little-known fact that Kirk Cousins, if you designated him for a post-June 1st cut, saves $35 million in 2026 cap space. That's a hell of a lot. Think about how many players you could sign to short-term contracts with an extra $35 million in the bank. Just an idea. Just an idea. Oh, and if you're wondering where the 2026 cap space currently looks at right now, this is with Kirk on the books. They're 24th in the NFL at $4.1 million. This is your estimated cap space. And look at all the other teams that you're currently around. Do you notice anything about those three teams? Playoff team, playoff team, playoff team. Not a playoff team. So I would make the moves necessary, as much as it would pain some people at the quarterback position who love Kirk Cousins. I would get rid of Kirk Cousins immediately. And then also, I know this is going to sting. I told you it would. Darnell Mooney. He's a $12 million cap hit next year. Kyle Hinton, Charlie Warner. All of these can give you extra cap space. I'd be willing to move off of Darnell Mooney if it meant that I could go into the draft and draft another wide receiver. But there's another wide receiver plan that I have coming up later on in the episode. So if you're wondering, Moose, you can't get rid of Darnell Mooney. Who else would we have? Trust me, it's all going to make sense here in just a little bit. The ultimate plan for your cap savings, by the way, needs to be as close to $50 million as possible. You have to. You got to get as close to $50 million as you can. And you definitely could do it. Hell, if you just got rid of Kirk, you're already at 39. So don't worry about the money at this point. Don't worry about what the fan base is going to think. Obviously, we know that something needs to change. So I'm firing the coaching staff, I'm releasing Kirk, and I'm clearing up the rest of the cap space the best that I could. Third thing that I would do, franchise tag Kyle Pitts. I know. Kyle Pitts deserves a contract. Everybody who loves Kyle Pitts says he deserves a contract. I'm not saying that I don't want him on the team next year, but I don't think he's shown me quite nearly enough to earn that big payday. I'll explain coming up in just a little bit. Before I do that, I got to tell you about my friends over at Brunt. I'm going to be getting out into the yard this coming weekend. Got to paint the fence with my dad. He called me up and was like, hey, I need some help. And that's where I'm going to bring my Marin Brunt boots. Excuse me. Good Lord, Trace. But I will tell you this. These boots were comfortable right out of the box. They required almost little to no break-in period as well. So right out of the box, I'm plopping them on, and I'm getting to work. But Brunt isn't just about work boots. They offer a full range of high-performance gear built for tough jobs. From heavy-duty work pants to weather-resistant jackets, Brunt designs durable, reliable workwear to keep you protected and productive in any condition. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. And if they lasted, they completely wrecked your feet. So with temps dropping and the holidays coming up, it's time to treat yourself to, or the hardworking man in your life, to real comfort. Skip the throwaway gifts and get him something built to last. Brunt Workwear. Our listeners get $10 off their entire order with code CHAT at checkout. That's bruntworkwear.com and use code CHAT at checkout. Order today and let them know that Moose from Falcons Today sent you. One more time, $10 off your entire order with code CHAT at checkout at bruntworkwear.com. All of that's going to be in the comments and description of today's video. So let's talk a little bit more about Kyle Pitts for a second. Pitts is kind of an enigma to me. On the one hand, he possesses the traits and the speed and the athleticism that you want out of a tight end. I understood when the Falcons drafted Kyle Pitts that it was going to be a boom or a bust pick based off of the traits alone. And believe it or not, I was kind of wrong about both. He's not boom and he's not bust. He's just kind of somewhere in the middle. And in 2025, that's exactly what he's given you. 47 receptions for 434 yards. He's only found the end zone once, 9.2 yards per reception. I would not go out on a limb and say that these are awful numbers, but I can't say that they're great. What I will say is Pitts has not shown me nearly enough to deserve top dollar at his position, or hell, even top 5 at his position. So I'm sure there's been a lot of Falcons fans, and I've seen a couple of you that have gotten down in the comments section and you've said, what would you do with Kyle Pitts? I'd franchise tag him. I'd franchise tag him today. One more year to see what you got. One more year to show me where it is you feel like that you are going to be fitting on this team. And that's just where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And look, it's not that Kyle Pitts, scratch that. Let me start over. I don't think Kyle Pitts gets a good enough rap, right? I think that Kyle Pitts has gotten a really bad rap considering where he was drafted. If you would have drafted Kyle Pitts in, say, the second or third round, I think there's an entirely different conversation around him. But if you're looking at the Falcons depth chart right now, you kept 4 tight ends, and your clear and obvious number 1 is Kyle Pitts, and that's a problem. Does that make sense? So Kyle Pitts being what he is not the issue. But the fact that Kyle Pitts is your number 1 and you kept 4 tight ends on the depth chart, Raheem, is the problem. Like, Felipe Franks might be a good special teams player. Like, come on, man. Why did we keep all of these? For blocking purposes, a lot of good that's doing you. You're 3-7. So I'm just in a spot right now where I'm like, I got to see at least one more year out of Kyle Pitts before I can actually pay him or let him go. I think it can't be either. Fourth step of the plan. Go heavy on George Pickens. I told you releasing Darnell Mooney would come in handy here in just a second. George Pickens is one of those players that a lot of bad rap around him being a locker room cancer. I feel like George Pickens has found a niche in Dallas of what he is and what he is not. And believe it or not, he's actually had less attitude problems. The projected deal, by the way, is huge. It's massive. 4 years, $115 million is what his projected contract extension is going to be. I don't think Jerry Jones wants to pay that. So, if you wanted to, you could go out and spend a ridiculous amount of money. Here's where it makes sense. In 2026, his base salary is only supposed to, this is a direct comparison to T. Higgins' contract. This is what he's going to most likely garner, what T. Higgins gets. So T. Higgins in 2026 is making almost $11 million in base salary. You could restructure his contract, George Pickens that is, and push all of that money down the road if you didn't want to pay him right out of the gate. But could you imagine George Pickens and Drake London on the same team? Take a look at the numbers. 94 targets for Drake London to 83 for George Pickens. Almost the exact same receptions. Pickens has got more yards and more touchdowns and a higher average. And Drake London is your number 1. This would go bananas if he was on this team. Now, would George Pickens want to come to Atlanta? That's a different question. But that's why I said you got to go heavy on him. I'd offer him the moon and say, if you want to come here, be part of something great as we're building it, then you come to Atlanta, and I make sure that you're taken care of. So let me ask you, Falcons fans, would you sign George Pickens? Yes or no? Type Y for yes or N for no. And if you're watching during our live show, let me know in the live chat down below. Final step of the plan. Draft Jaden Mayava. Moose, we have a quarterback. His name is Michael Penix Jr. Yeah, I get it. I understand. But we're also talking about a quarterback here that has had his 5th season-ending injury in 8 seasons. I can guarantee you Terry Fontenot is having discussions right now with Arthur Blank, Rich McKay, and this entire Falcons front office. There is a question mark around Michael Penix Jr. That does not mean that he's not going to be the starter in 2026. That doesn't mean that he's not going to play at all in a Falcons uniform ever again. But what it does mean is that if you want to get proactive about your future, you might have to draft a quarterback this year. And Jaden Mayava, in my opinion, for not having a first-round pick, is probably the best you're going to get in the later rounds. Almost 67% completion percentage, 2,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 picks. This is a player that absolutely excels inside the pocket when it's clean. He's got lightning fast release with quick game execution. Lincoln Riley boasts non-stop about this kid. And he's 6'4", 230 pounds. He's a big boy. He's thick, he's trunky, he's coastal, as my guy Colin Cowherd would say. I think Jaden Mayava is going to be a really, really good player. Now, The one part of his game he needs to work on is that sloppy footwork when the pocket collapses. So when he's blitzed and he feels the pressure, he can kind of get out of rhythm and he can kind of lose a little bit of those mechanics. But at the same time, I'm like, if that's the worst thing about your game right now, you're a pretty good prospect. You're a pretty good prospect. And Alper, you could just leave that up there. I'll read it. Yeah, I'll read it. I think Penix is going to play in 2026. I do. But you need to have a backup plan. You must invest in another quarterback. At least somewhat. Even if it's a veteran that will come in as a backup. Because I can promise you this, it's not going to be Kirk next year. Do you think the Falcons want to pay Kirk Cousins all of that money to be the starting quarterback? No. There's a reason they didn't have him as the starter this year, guys. So anybody that thinks it's going to be Kirk, you're fooling yourselves. Kirk was benched this year for Penix. That clearly showed you something. They don't believe in Kirk anymore. So they're going to be moving on from him. So then what does that leave you? If Penix doesn't come back until October because of that ACL, you're riding with right now Easton Stick. So you tell me what the plan is. I would go out and get a quarterback immediately, and I would draft. Somebody that I can draft and develop, because then I have Penix, then I have the kid. So that's my 5-step plan. That's how I make the Falcons better in 2026. Fire the coaching staff, release Kirk, and clear up more cap space. Franchise tag Kyle Pitts. Go heavy on George Pickens and draft Jaden Mayava. I realize that's all offense. But defensively speaking, I think there are tweaks and adjustments that you can make. For the most part, this defense is fine. You need a nose tackle. You need another outside corner. But for the most part, I've loved what I've seen from this defense. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. That's my rebuild plan. What do you think? Yes, no, maybe so. I don't know. All you got to do is subscribe, hit that like button, rise up, and be cool.